Hello, this is Jeff Bell with ABA Advisors, your accounting practice business broker, and welcome to the webinar today. Our topic is going to be answers to your biggest questions on selling your accounting, CPA, or EA firm here in 2025 or 2026 and beyond. Again, my name's Jeff Bell. I work with ABA Advisors, and we surveyed some people, some potential sellers that we have in our database, over 1,000, and got back a little over 100 answers and asked them, what's your biggest question about selling your accounting firm? And so today I'm going to take the top 3 questions that people were asking and try and answer those for you. If you've never heard of us before, we're a national broker. Our website is acctsales.com. You can always go there and learn more about us, see our practices that we have for sale. We do have a lot of articles that we post, and I write for buyers and sellers. We have a lot of information, especially if you're new to acquiring a firm or this is your hopefully first time selling your firm if you're a potential seller, that you can learn about and use this as a resource. So real quick, again, today we did a survey on the biggest question about selling your firm. We surveyed 1,000 plus accountants. I got back 104 responses. The questions weren't what I expected, but we'll answer them and try and give you a flavor of what was on everybody's mind here in June of 2025. The number 3 question that was asked was, who is buying accounting firms now? And to break it down, these are approximate numbers, but what we find are that solo practitioners are probably the biggest buyer of accounting firms. These are one, maybe 2-person shows or accounting firms, maybe a solo practitioner that has an assistant or a front desk type of person, or maybe a staff person that's not a CPA, may not be an accountant. They could be a staff accountant, but there's somebody that helps with them, and they're probably make up half of the potential buyers that we have. The next biggest group of buyers buying these firms are small firms, anywhere from 1 to 5 employees. They make up about 30%. These are larger firms where a solo practitioner may be, excuse me, a $250,000 revenue or a $500,000 revenue firm at the high end. The smaller firms may be 300 to 7 or 800,000 in terms of revenue, and they've got a couple employees, maybe a couple staff accountants and or CPAs on staff that are helping them. 10%, 1 out of 10 of the buyers that we see are regional firms. These are larger firms, could be have several offices in a major metropolitan area or city, or in maybe a rural state. They could have 2, 3, 5, sometimes 10 smaller offices scattered about the countryside or the state. And some of these firms are looking to acquire other satellite offices, and so they're potential buyers. And then last but not least, we've got maybe 5% of buyers who are coming into the market. We call them PE, private equity, or VC, venture capital firms, that are interested in acquiring a firm. Some of them are trying to aggregate several firms to make a larger firm and have them be sold as a package at some point down the road and they cash out, where others are wanting to acquire and maybe grow into a regional firm. They are not necessarily looking to sell the firms that they acquire, but to hang on to the staff and the owner of the selling firm that is going to be someone who might want to stay around for a while, and that's coming up here soon. So those make up about 95% of our potential buyers that are buying accounting firms right now. The other 5% are just other entrepreneurs and people that just don't fall into these particular categories, but we run into them every once in a while. The number 2 question that we get or I receive from the survey is, how long does the selling process take? And so the selling process is really dependent upon the size of the firm, Also the location of it, but more often than not, the size of the firm. So if you have a large firm that's $1 million, it will take anywhere from 9 months to maybe a year and a half, on average, somewhere in that time frame, to find the right buyer. You know, look at, and this is our job as brokers to go through potential buyers, find that right buyer. We could talk to a dozen, 2 dozen, 50 sometimes. We sold a firm in the Midwest that was 1.7 million, and I think we talked to maybe 70 people to find that right buyer, but somewhere in the 9 month to 1.5 year range. If you're a medium firm and you're in a rural area, it could take 9 months to 12 or more months to sell. Rural firms are harder to sell. There's just fewer buyers, and to find that right buyer and find a firm that can acquire a firm like yours just takes longer. If you're a medium firm, but you're in the city, some type of town, could be 50,000, 100,000 on average, medium-sized city. Our average time to sell could be anywhere from 6 to 9 months. Again, part of that is dependent upon the time of the year that you list your firm. We tend to start a lot of listings right after tax season, and those go through the summer, vetting people, sifting and sorting through potential buyers. And a lot of times we'll get offers in over the summer, go through due diligence, and help with financing, and that takes some time, and we sell in the fourth quarter or right before the first of the year or close on those. And so 6 to 9 months is a good average period of time. If you do have a virtual firm, last but not least, it could take as short as 4 months to 6 months to actually close on a virtual firm. Um, Virtual firms, by definition, we internally talk about a virtual firm being where the seller has coached or been real picky or trained the client base that they do not need to come to the office. They can submit their information electronically. That could be through email, a web portal. Sending things through the mail is obviously another way, fax, things like that. But there's no particular office hours where people can drop in and drop those things off. And so by virtue of that, a lot of times sellers feel like any potential buyer could come in and buy the firm, and they don't necessarily need to be in the city or the general location of the selling firm. And so those firms go a lot quicker. We've got hundreds, probably, if not thousands, of people across the country that are interested in those types of firms. Sometimes the staff on those firms are virtual or remote also, where they don't come to an office, they just work out of their homes. And the note down here is 2 months SP, meaning it can take as little as 2 months for these types of firms to go sale pending, meaning we get an offer in, and the seller is going through due diligence, and the other 2 to 4 months is just finding financing, putting together the actual purchase agreement and closing on those. Last but not least, the number one question that we had on this particular survey, again, not what I expected, but can I continue to work reduced hours or work part-time after the sale? And the short answer is yes, absolutely. 90% of the buyers actually like this. We talk to buyers all the time, and we call it a national shortage of accountants, if not CPAs in general, where it's hard to find good people and keep them. And so most of the buyers that we talk to are actually happy if the seller will stay on as either, and this is option or line number 2, they could stay on as an employee or an independent contractor, consultant, whatever you want to call it, after the sale. Some like the seller to stay on for an extended period, again, not only to help with tax season, processing returns, but really for the transition of client and client relationships, as well as staff and things like that. And so, again, it's usually as some type of employee or an independent contractor. The pay is not non-negotiable, is negotiable, but it's usually obviously at a reduced pay level. And so again, I'm making these numbers up, but if you build out at $200 an hour, a lot of times the pay level is going to be somewhere between a third of that or half of that, depending upon the market, the staff, if you have any that are staying on with the new owner, and again, what your billable hours are. Those are, again, negotiable depending upon the type of work and the amount of time that you want to work. And the time frame that we usually see all these type of seller working after a close is somewhere in between 1 and 3 years. There are exceptions to that. There are times where sellers will stay on longer than that, and there are times when they'll just stick around for maybe one tax season. So whatever that turns out to be in terms of a time frame, if the firm closes in Q4, like on October 1st, and the seller wants to stay around for a tax season, so that could be 7 months through the next April 15th time period. But again, that's what we typically see. So these were, again, the top questions that we received during the survey. There are, and I'll just remind everybody of this, everybody's different in terms of a potential selling situation. There are always 24 variables that we work with or that buyers are asking us about that they look to analyze a firm and potentially make offers to buy firms. I'll try and put a link in the description of this particular video and webinar where you can go and learn more about these top 24. But regardless of the question, these are what buyers are always looking for. And if you're a potential seller and are interested in selling your firm again this year or next year, this is the process that we help all of our sellers go through in terms of representing them as their broker. We develop a buyer profile target of what your ideal buyer will look like. We do local, regional, national marketing. We sift and sort through the potential buyers to see who's got the best experience and is the most qualified to actually take over your firm. We facilitate seller and buyer intros, negotiate letters of intent on your behalf, help with due diligence, actually negotiate purchase agreements, and last but not least, help coordinate closing for all the parties. But this is what we do as a broker and are always happy to help. If you do have any questions, you're always feel free to call me or send me an email. My number is 317-648-7770. If I don't pick up, just leave a voicemail and I'll get back to you, or you can always email me, jeff@acctsales.com. If you ever want to schedule a confidential phone call online, you can do that at the link above, right there, www.aba.sale/JB25. Those are my initials. And always happy to talk and answer your questions about what we do in terms of a broker selling or listing your firm, as well as if you just have, again, other questions, not the ones that I covered here on the webinar about the process. Again, you can always look and find us online at acctsales.com. And again, our webinar today has been answers to your biggest questions on selling your accounting, CPA or EA firm in 2025 and 2026 and beyond. If you have any questions after the webinar, and if you didn't watch this live and are watching the replay, again, feel free to give me a call. Happy to chat and answer your questions that you have about selling your firm. Thanks again, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.